Okay, you already touched a bit on app monetization, but you only talked about the monetization back when you started, right? Where you had a free version and a premium version. Those were separate entries in the Play Store, if I understand this correctly.
Correct, yeah.
And these days, do you still monetize your apps? And what do you think are the best ways to do this? And what do you think about ads versus in-app purchases? Which one do you prefer? Or what's the benefits and downsides of these different ways of monetizing your app?
Yeah, good question. So I personally have never done ads in my apps. I've looked at doing ads in my apps. I remember when I looked at it, it didn't seem like it was a very lucrative business, because the amount of money you get paid to show one ad is basically less than a penny or $1 or less than a cent, depending where you're listening. So you have to get a lot of volume on ads being shown to make it worth your while. So if you have an app that has 100,000 users and you can show them one pop-up ad a day, then you can probably monetize really well from that. But other than that, the way that I've always monetized my apps and what I do now is just like freemium model. So you have the app, it's got free features, it has other features that are paid. So if they want to pay for that, they can subscribe. I always do subscription now, because I realized that when you're an independent developer, what I used to do is one-time purchase, right? So you can purchase, the unlocker or whatever for this app forever. And the problem being that unless you have a huge volume of users coming through your app consistently, once all of the people that use your app have paid for your app, that's all your income. Like, that's it. That's the amount of money. If you've got 1,000 users and they all paid $1, the only amount of money you're ever going to get from them is $1,000, which sounds like a lot until you realize that they've paid for this thing and they're expecting you to support it indefinitely, forever, essentially. So in 5 years' time, you make no money from this app, but you still have to update it to new libraries and you still have to add features. And so I basically switched to the subscription model, which is people pay for continuous use of the app, which then in turn funds the development of the app. So you don't feel like you're just working for other people for free. So I highly advocate like in-app purchases and the freemium thing. I also advocate that give people all my apps that have paid features, you get a 2-week trial when you install the app of those paid features with no limitations. And it says up front, you're going to get a 2-week trial, tells you when it's finished and says your 2-week trial is finished. When you go to like enable features, it has a little label on there that says, this is a paid feature, but it works during your trial. Not those words, it's much more concise than that, but essentially that's what it says. So when someone's using the app, they understand, right, this is what I get for free, this is what I'll get if I pay. And my thinking being that once it gets to 2 weeks, if they've been using the paid features and they like it, they will pay for the paid features. And if they didn't like the features or they haven't been using them, then they won't pay for them. So they understand what they're getting, as opposed for you asking for their money and them hoping that they get what they expect to get.
Yeah, I think many people use ads first because they are the easiest to add, basically. Just add a banner and that's it. Although I have to say it's not that simple, because you also have to then have a more elaborate privacy policy, for example. And Google is putting more attention on that lately. Soon, I think it will be required to actually have a privacy policy, which was not required in the past, I think.
It's already required, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
It's already required. And yeah, I have one, and my privacy policy is like 2 lines of text, because right now I don't have anything in there that's really about...
My privacy policy is one that I copied and pasted from somewhere about 5 years ago and just changed the name of the app.
Yeah, that's how many people do it.
Yeah.
There are also some generators out there that can create one for you. Yeah, so you prefer subscriptions, basically. And many software companies go into this direction of subscriptions these days, because it just seems to be more profitable. For example, I use Adobe Premiere for video editing, and since recently I also have After Effects, and you can't get them for a single time fee anymore. You have to get a subscription.
Yeah.
And the weird thing about this is that, so as soon as you get, I think, 2 of their programs, it's basically cheaper for you, or at least it has the same price if you just get the whole cloud.
Yep.
So then I pay, I think, 50 or 60 euros per month, and I can use all their programs, and they have a ton. And the weird thing about this is that it feels cheap because I can see all these different tools that I now have available. But if you think about it, it's actually quite expensive because basically every month I'm paying the price or maybe half the price of this program would have had in the past if it was a one-time purchase. So they're really draining a lot of money out of me to
Yeah.
keep using that. But I mean, I get updates and everything, so it's worth it. And it's fair.
Yeah, as long as you get continuous use from it, it's fair. And to that point, also, that's great marketing on their point, because that's what everybody does, right? If you look at, like, we're using Riverside, and they'll have, 3 different tiers, but they only want you to get one tier unless you really need the top tier. So they'll make the bottom tier and the second tier quite close. So then it's like, well, why would I not just pay $1 more and get this one? And it's the same thing. Like, why would I not just pay a bit more and get all of the programs, even if I don't need them, because I feel like I'm getting more for my money?
Yeah, there are a lot of these pricing psychology strategies that can make a big difference.
Yeah.
Price anchoring and stuff like that, where you have a cheaper one, but it's not really worth it, so it brings people to the middle one.
Yeah.
And this is often the one that's also highlighted when you are on the website. This is what people prefer. Yeah, you also said that it's kind of annoying to have to keep working for free if people buy your app for a single time purchase, and then they can use it indefinitely, and you have to keep making updates for it. And yeah, I can also see how this can be demotivating if you know that there's not really a stream of money coming in, but you still have to work for this app and keep making updates.
100%.
And I can see how really this can hurt your motivation to keep working on it.
But that's also the upside of that, is if you build stuff that you want to use, then it's like I'm working for myself because I'm building it, and then I'll release it because I know other people are using it. But yeah, if I had an app like Floatifications that I didn't want to maintain anymore, and I wasn't making any money from maintaining it, then it's then having to work on that for free for money that I got paid 5 years ago doesn't seem like it's worth it.
And can you give an example of an in-app purchase or of a difference between, or a feature that someone gets in one of your apps when they buy the premium version? Do you have an example for that?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So Read It To Me has always been that it will read your text messages for free, but if you want it to read WhatsApp or Signal or anything else, you have to pay for that feature. And that was mostly because when I started the app, which is like 2011, 2012, there was a really hacky way to get access to other notifications. And because I went through the trouble of doing that and no one else was doing it, I was like, well, this is a cool paid feature because nobody else has got an app that will read your WhatsApp message. They've only got apps that would read SMS because that's the only thing that Android gives you to be able to read. But I just carried on because people are willing to pay for it. I think I've either changed it or there's an update that hasn't been out yet where I changed it to you get 3 apps for free. But if you want more than 3 apps to be read, then you pay. So basically you have to kind of figure out what it is that users want and kind of where that line is, because you don't want to alienate people that actually want to use the app because you want the money, unless obviously that's your whole revenue. Then maybe you do, I don't know. But for me, it's like I want people to pay for the maintenance of the app and for stuff that I'm giving them, but I don't want them to have to pay for stuff that they should get for free. But yeah, so for that app, it was that. For Floatifications, I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure it was 100% paid app. So you'd get a 2-week free trial and then you'd have to pay for the unlocker. So that was like the whole app was essentially premium, but I had it on the Play Store for free so people could try it, because it's a lot easier to get people to pay for stuff if they've tried it than having it on the Play Store and they have to buy it to find out what it's about. So that would be 2 examples of that, yeah.
Yeah, I guess you have to be careful where you draw the line between the free and the premium version, because there are also situations sometimes where people start adding bad votes to an app or bad ratings,
Yeah,
because they are, the too many of the important features are in the premium version.
yeah,
One example that comes to mind for me right now is the password manager I'm using, which is LastPass. And many people were complaining because, or even outraged, because they what they changed, I think, is that you can only use it on one kind of device right now, but they didn't do that in the past. So now I can only use it on the PC or on my phone if it's the free version. And this is an example for a situation where people felt like this was too much to ask for, I guess. And there are other apps that you can basically use for free indefinitely, and you never really need the premium version, which I guess is also not great, because then you have too few people that actually buy the premium version.
Yeah.
For example, I use MyFitnessPal, this app to track your food and count calories. I've been using them for so many years, and I never even felt close to buying the premium version, because I have all the features that I need available. Maybe they should be they should move a bit of the free stuff into the premium version to make more money, but I guess it works for them.
Yeah, I mean, I assume it works for them, but yeah, it's exactly that. You have to find the balance, and also, to your point, you can't, at least from my perspective, you can't take features away from users that were free and expect them not to complain. So it's a lot easier if you start out, if you can't figure out what should be free and what should be paid, just make most of it paid, because users will appreciate getting new features for free, as opposed to, oh, I used to be able to use this thing and now you want me to pay $2 a month. Why would I do that? Because they've already had that free experience. So yeah, that's the only thing that you have to think about, is you can't really take stuff away from users once it's out there. So you have to figure out kind of off the bat what you want to be free. And if you can't, then I would just suggest make as much of it paid as you're comfortable with, and then start giving stuff back for free when, you know, you realize where that kind of stands, because that's the best way to combat it. But yeah, I'm sure MyFitnessPal is doing absolutely fine, but it is one of those things where, you know, this is also where you have to look at analytics and be like, what is it that people are using, especially on the free thing? Because, you know, if you've got paid users and they never use this feature, maybe you put that feature out for free so you have more things that you can say you offer, because your paid users are not using it anyways. But yeah, you can't go back, or you shouldn't go back. It just results in bad reviews. So
yeah, those are good points, especially the one point that you should not take features away that used to be free, because this is what really tends to make people angry.
yeah.
But generally, I'm really a fan of these freemium apps, or of this freemium approach, because when you can use it for free and you really get invested in an app,
Yeah.
if you keep using it, and then it becomes a no-brainer to pay these $5 or $5 a month,
Yeah.
maybe if you really like the app and if it's really useful to you and you need these additional features, then the barrier is much lower than if you have never used this app before and you have to pay for it right away. It's a world's difference.
Also, on that point, if you have an app that's paid, like has freemium, and you know, like you only ever use the free features, a really good tip to convert those users to paid users is to send them a notification saying, hey, you know, for the next 10 days, you can get 12-month subscription to this app half price. Because if they want any of the paid features, they will take up that subscription, and hopefully in a year's time, they won't cancel it and it goes back to the regular rate. But I always found for Read It To Me, that worked really good to convert free users to paid users, was just by offering them a discount. And I would always do it on like the holidays. So, you know, Christmas discount, here's 50% off, or Happy Thanksgiving, here's 50% off. So all that kind of stuff as well.
And when you want to do subscriptions or in-app purchases, do you always have to use Google's own integration of that, or can you circumvent this and charge for a subscription via other means outside of the app?
So I'm not entirely clear on this. So I've only ever used Google IAPs, but I know that there was a whole thing recently with I forget the name of the company, really big company that does games, and they, on the Apple App Store, they got banned for a period of time because they were circumventing Apple payment stuff, and I think that's a whole court case going on. And then on Android, I can't remember where that ended up. I feel like I read a thing the other day that says they don't make you use it, but I don't know for sure. I only use IAPs only because it's just the easiest thing to drop in. At least historically it was. I don't know about now.
Yeah, I think Epic is the name of the...
Yeah.
And how much do you have, or how much of a split do you have to give to Google when you have in-app purchases? They just recently lowered it, right?
They recently lowered it to, so it used to be 30%, and then they lowered it to 15%, but you had to opt in to get the lower rate. So rather than just give everybody 15%, you had to like click the link and then go to the next bit, fill out something and say, yes, I would like you to take less money from me. So that was crazy. But yeah, so I think right now it's 15%. Which, you know, is a good portion of money, But it just depends. If you can use other things and you want to do that, then go for it. If I could use Stripe, for example, I would do that. But I just feel like for what I'm like, one, making the money is not my priority with the app, so it's just nice income. And two, it's much easier to manage things like subscriptions, especially for users. It's all in the Play Store now, so they could just go and see I'm subscribed to all these apps and cancel it, as opposed to you getting angry reviews or angry emails saying, why do you keep taking $5 a month from me, and how can I cancel it? So
yeah, I also had to go through this process to apply for these 15%, even though my app is not monetized yet. But I did it. But I think they seem to be doing it because they want to make sure that that your Play Store account is not affiliated with another account that is already above the threshold to not
something like
be
that,
applicable anymore.
Yeah.
I think because 15% is only for the first $1 million or something like that.
Yeah, then
Is
it
that
goes
right?
up. Yeah.
So yeah, in this questionnaire, I think they want to make sure that you don't already have another account where you're over this threshold. I guess this is their
Yeah,
justification
I guess
for
they're
that.
trying to like aggregate it, right? If you have one account that's 500,000 and one that's 500,000, then they would aggregate that and say, well, you're over the million now.